Hi guys, welcome back to Hear Me Out. I'm E.
I'm D.
So if you've been on the internet lately, we know that there's a new WNBA sensation, Caitlin Clark. I have to say it slowly because I've been calling her a Stark. Guys, it's a real problem here. We are Game of Thrones fanatics.
Yeah.
But as I mentioned, she's been making the headlines. People are really excited to be watching the WNBA. But this article that we're going to discuss today is talking about her salary.
Mhm.
Dun, dun, dun. And why? Because we're obviously comparing it to the NBA. A lot of people are saying it's unfair, others are saying it's justified. We're obviously going to read the article and give you our opinions.
Yes. Okay, so the article is from Vox.com and it is written by Lee Zhu. And the headline is Caitlin Clark's staggeringly low starting salary briefly explained. The WNBA draft puts pro basketball's longstanding pay gap on stark display. So, Caitlin Clark, a college basketball phenom and the top pick at the WNBA draft, will make a staggeringly low salary in her rookie year compared to her NBA counterparts, despite her record breaking performance in the NCAA and the energy that she generated for the sport. Clark's base salary will be $76,535 as a rookie. In the NBA, meanwhile, the first draft pick is expected to make roughly $10.5 million in base salary their first year. Side note, sidebar. If you're a female, you understand. Okay, let me keep going. Whew. Players like Clark, who was picked by the Indiana Fever during the draft after multiple blockbuster seasons as a point guard for the University of Iowa Hawkeyes, and former Louisiana State University forward Angel Reese, who was signed by the Chicago Sky, have helped women's college basketball achieve a landmark year. For the first time ever, the women's final March Madness game, which drew as many as 24 million viewers, surpassed the viewership of the men's final. Another sidebar, way better game than the men's. Okay, back to it. It's been catapulted this year to a whole new level, says University of Michigan sports management professor Ketra Armstrong. People are tuning into the WNBA draft that never had before. The fresh attention for the WNBA draft, however, is also spotlighting the problems the league has had with pay equity. For years, the WNBA salaries have lacked the NBA's by a massive margin. That's due in part to the league's differences in revenue and season lengths. But other factors like differences in collective bargaining agreements and revenue sharing also play a big role. Because of how closely sports observers are following Clark, some fans have raised questions about these issues and her role in addressing them. Can Caitlin Clark fix the WNBA and NBA pay gap? Question mark. One Forbes article asked. The framing misunderstands some of the central issues or causes of the gap, however. While Clark and Reese could well bring more eyes to the WNBA games, the issue of pay gaps is an institutional one. As such, it's not in the power, nor is it the responsibility of any one player to solve. The challenges facing women athletes, from pay disparities to limited media coverage, stem from entrenched societal norms and institutional biases that cannot be remedied by the actions of one individual alone, says Georgetown University sports industry management professor Laquita Frederick. The pay gap problem is bigger than any one player. Despite her record breaking performance in the NCAA and the energy that she's generated for the sport, Clark will earn less than 1% of what her male counterpart will make in her first year. She will be able to supplement her salary through endorsements and marketing deals, but even with those, her estimated earnings will be lower than the base salary of a first round NBA pick. Clark isn't alone. WNBA star Brittany Griner, who spent months jailed in Russia, spoke about the reason she played abroad in the offseason and noted that a big part of it was to supplement her income. Quote, I'll say this, the whole reason a lot of us go over is the pay gap, she said at a press conference in April 2023. In 2023, a WNBA player made $113,295 base salary on average, while an NBA player made an average base salary of $9.7 million. I'm already mad. Well, I've been mad, but okay. The NBA's much larger revenue is part of the reason for this discrepancy. It takes an estimated $10 billion annually, or it takes in, and compared to the WNBA, which has been projected to bring in roughly $200 million. Its season is also about twice the length of the WNBA's, including 82 games compared to 40 games. Those factors alone, however, don't tell the full story. A major source of pay inequity also stems from the collective bargaining agreements, CBAs, the players' unions have with the two leagues, and the amount of revenue they get to share. As Eden last explains for Just Women's Sports, male players are guaranteed a much larger share of revenue than women are, meaning they make more as the league grows. Because of how their CBA is structured, NBA players are able to receive 50% of all shared revenue, which includes everything from ticket sales to broadcasting rights. WNBA players, however, don't receive the same guarantees. Just pissing me off some more. Instead, WNBA players get 50% of incremental revenue, which is defined as revenue that exceeds the target the league has set for itself. As Bloomberg has found, the league has not met those targets, meaning WNBA players have not reaped any of these rewards. All told, about 40% of all NBA league revenue goes into players' salaries, while the WNBA puts roughly 10% of all league revenue towards its players' salaries, according to an estimate from David Barry, an economist at Southern Utah University, who is the co-author of a forthcoming book about women's sports. So, because of these disparities, WNBA players are pushing to change their compensation agreement. We are now asking to get paid what the men get paid. We're asking to get paid the same percentage of revenue shared. Las Vegas Aces player Kelsey Plum said on the Residency podcast in 2022. Players will next have a chance to negotiate for that change in 2025, which is the earliest they can opt out of the current agreement. So, um, there's a lot more to this, but I think more or less we get the gist of it. What do we think so far? Because it's just, a whole lot of infuriating things here. I'll finish off in a little bit, but what do we think so far?
I mean, well, congrats to Caitlin Clark
Mm-hmm.
on, getting recruited with the Indiana, remind me again?
Fever.
Everybody seems very excited. She did have a press conference, which the internet compared it to Angel Reese's. That's a whole other subject for another day.
Right.
But fans there, the Indiana front office was there. Everybody was greeting her. Everybody's really, really excited. Like Dee mentioned, you're not E. I'm E. She was one of the top recruits for this season. Obviously, she's probably getting paid more, ironically, than
Right.
other people. Is it fair? Absolutely not. The only reason I'm a little not okay, but I can probably understand why they get paid the way that they do. I was reading another article that said their viewership is not the same as the NBA,
Mm-hmm.
or we could say the NFL, the MLB, any of the other people. So obviously, the more views they get, the more sponsorships, more broadcasting, the more
Mm-hmm.
revenue. So they have more bargaining power compared to, well, if people aren't really watching you,
Mm-hmm.
how much can you bargain because you're not really bringing in that revenue? I also saw another article that said that actually women do not support women's sports the way
Yeah.
women support men's sports.
Mm-hmm.
I might be a little guilty. I can understand where it's coming from.
Yeah.
But the article mentioned it's like if people showed up the way they show up for Beyonce to her concerts or to Taylor
Mm-hmm.
Swift's, the WNBA would see so much revenue, so it would have so much exposure, and I can understand that. I think it starts with hopefully them negotiating their salaries better, but I think we need to see the revenue go up first, and we're going to see it because there's a lot of top recruits: Caitlin, Angel Reese, other players, which I don't know their names. See, I'm guilty, guys. I'm part of the problem.
Yeah.
But I will tune in. I will try to be better. I
Yeah.
understand sports for the most part, at least basketball I do.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to support them so they have that bargaining power to get paid more. And obviously, this is a whole pay disparity problem that women in general deal with. How
Yeah.
much do we make compared to men? This is a
Um,
problem that we're still fighting.
yeah, it takes us over a
40 cents on the
year,
dollar?
yeah, over a year to make what a man makes in 1 year as far as the salary. And the pay disparity is even larger if you're a female minority, meaning a woman
Mm-hmm.
of color. You take even longer. Or we take even longer because,
Yeah, there's different levels to this.
yeah.
So it's broken down to, white women, black women, Hispanic women, Asian women. I think I saw a stat, something like that. And it's
Hmm.
random. So the lower you are in the chain, the less you're making compared to your male counterpart.
Hmm.
It's such a sucky situation. And this is probably going to turn into one of those, women, why are they treating us this way? Because we see all these other inequities in our lives. Um, but going back to the WNBA, I think that we need to support these players so hopefully they get paid a little bit more.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think that something the article pointed out is very accurate is that they can't put all of this on the shoulders of Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark.
For sure.
That would not that would not be fair. Um, you have players that are in the league right now who are killing it, but again, their games are not being watched as much as like NBA games. And it is disappointing because it's kind of a situation where it makes sense from like the like what you pointed out as far as like, okay, if there's no revenue or if there's not eyeballs, then you can't expect for there to be growth and therefore there isn't like money for it. I get that. um but there's even the fact of like, I mean, they don't play like these big arenas or anything like that. Like some of them like play in just regular gymnasiums, and they fly, I believe, coach. I don't think they get private planes the way NBA players do. And again, I guess that can go back to the money of it all, but clearly there's been an effort to expand and grow the NBA. The NBA has, I mean, been insanely huge for many years, but it wasn't always that way. It also grew into what it's now become. And I think that such an effort needs to be made for the WNBA to grow and to expand to be able to then afford these bigger contracts for the players. I also think that they definitely should be able to renegotiate a lot of these deals to be able to obtain the profit sharing percentages or whatnot that they want to obtain. So there's just so much like involved with all of that. But I definitely don't think that it would be fair to put that on the rookies that are just coming out the gate right now. Um, and and I like recently when March Madness was going on with the women's NCAA tournament. I mean, it was so much fun to watch. The players were so much fun to watch, and people were invested. There were like, I think I was involved in like the March Madness NCAA men's league like fantasy bracket or something like that. I wasn't paying attention to that. I was paying attention to the women's one, and I wasn't even a part of no fantasy league with that. But it was just a lot more interesting to watch. And I think that an effort should be made to make that more appealing for the masses. Um,
Mhm.
and like you said, the way that people show up for these concerts and everything, like, I think there should also be an effort to get celebrities out there a little bit more because unfortunately, like we've talked about in other videos, they bring in money, they bring in eyeballs. So if you have these big name celebrities sitting front row, sitting courtside, accommodations are going to be made for them. Like, so clearly there are different steps that I think like need to be taken. And the celebrity row is probably like one of the very small ones, but still, like, there's different things. And it's unfair, obviously, how very little women are getting paid compared to men. Like, for example, the I believe the highest earning women's basketball player is Jackie Young. from the Las Vegas team, and she makes $252,000. No, $254,450 compared to a rookie from the NBA making over 9 million. That's such a large disparity.
But I'm scanning an article right now. There might be some good news. So this article is from Business Insider, and it says women's sports are projected to generate more than 1 billion. So this article said it's
Mm.
generating about 200 million.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so it's projected to generate more than 1 billion globally in 2024, and stars such as Clark are a major driving force.
Mhm.
So in November, Deloitte released a report predicting that women's sports revenue would hit 1.28 billion in 2024, up by 300% from its 2021 forecast. A tech analyst, Michael Patcher, told the New York Times, you do need women like Caitlin Clark who are so great that you can't miss them. In January 2024, the NCAA signed a $920 million deal with ESPN to
Mm.
broadcast women's March Madness, where Clark will undoubtedly leave it all on the court. So that's positive. You
Yeah.
know, it's going to bring more bargaining power, like we mentioned.
Mhm.
But Caitlin Clark's NIL, which is her, what is it, her name, her images, and her likeness, is worth 3.1 million. And she
Mhm.
has a whole bunch of endorsements that will supplement her current income. So she has endorsements with Nike. She signed with them on June 2022, which, by the way, college athletes get this NIL deal now. So
Yep.
they're making money already,
Yeah.
which is such a crazy concept.
Yeah.
I think they've been fighting for that since I've known, since I've been born. And so she's currently worth 3.1 mil. She has endorsements with Nike.
I
Who
think
else?
she was
Gatorade.
re-signed with Nike.
She has endorsements with Gatorade. She joined in December 2023, making her the second women's basketball player and fourth college athlete to ever partner with the sports drink brand.
Well.
So that's that. She also became the first college athlete to partner with State Farm in 2023.
Oh, wow.
Let's see what else. She has a deal with Panini America Trading Cards.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Caitlin Clark announced her intention to enter the WNBA draft this year, of course. So I think I read somewhere that all her endorsements are probably about $28 million.
Mhm.
So at least, I don't know if it's a consolation prize, a consolation something,
Right.
she's supplementing her income in another way.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that stars like her could at least start the conversations, could get the eyes on the WNBA, and
Yeah.
hopefully help out other people that are other women that are less known, you
Yeah.
know, and help elevate them as well and get their names out there.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's great what Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, um, Camila Cardozo, I think she was the number 3 in the draft pick for the WNBA. I think it's great what they're doing for the sport. I think it's great what they're doing for women's sports. And so I'm hopeful that yes, a change will come, and I think that they should be able to be, part of that driving change, that driving force. And the I guess like my last thought with all of it is just that like um the article touched on Brittany Griner, and we all know that it was a very huge ordeal when she was jailed wrongfully in another country that I will not name. Um and so obviously that was like such a tragedy in that moment, right? What had happened and everything, and to know that the reason why she had to be out there was to supplement her income. It's unfortunate, and it's really indicative of the failure of this country to help women in any way, shape, or form prosper, because clearly our pay equity is not there. There is no gender pay equity in this country. And
Mhm.
before I decide to just completely go off on America, I'm going to just say that I'm glad Britney's home. That's it.
Ditto. Yeah, hopefully everybody gets, it corrects itself eventually, or, at least make movements for progress.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, that concludes today's video. Let us know what you think in the comments. I know we covered a lot. We threw a whole bunch of numbers at you. This was kind of a little techie, a little, a little,
Financial.
yeah. Talking about the NBA, WNBA comparisons, financials, Business Insider, a whole bunch of stuff. Let us know what you think. Are you excited to see Caitlin Clark in the WNBA? What do we think about this pay disparity between the WNBA players and the NBA players? Should they get paid the same? Should it be like a tiered kind of thing? Do you agree with the way, our thoughts and our opinions on the subject matter? I don't even know. Whatever else you can think of, let us know in the comments. But that concludes today's video. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos. Also, please share our video. We're trying to grow our community so your friends could be our friends and we can all be friends. Thank you for listening to us. I know sometimes we go on this rant, and we were probably about women's rights and all this.
Yeah.
But I hope that you guys really understand where we're coming from. Um, we're very opinionated individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And surprisingly, this is very censored because the way we say things on the phone, wild, guys.
Yeah.
But we also have social media, which they'll tell you about.
We are on TikTok and Instagram and Hear Me Out DNE. So make sure you guys like, follow, share, and comment. Um, you can also listen to the videos in podcast format via YouTube Music and Spotify. And just like one last thing, I feel that it is our responsibility now that we are at 10K plus subscribers
Oh.
to bring
Ooh.
to bring people more news about women in sports, because it is part of what can help in the, even if it's in the very most micro way, it is part of what can help to just shed some more light and spotlight on these women athletes, and we will treat them the same way we treat the male athletes. We will give you guys the stories, however crazy they may be and however reckless our thoughts may be, we will give them to you. So anyway, just saying
I
that.
know. I will do better, guys. Better. I don't go to Beyonce's concerts, but I will buy a WNBA ticket if I see one.
Oh.
I hold me to it. All right. See you next time. Peace.
Bye.
Bye.